Welcome to Commanders Training Camp 2022. We are coming you today from Joint Base Andrews, where the Commanders are practicing in front of our nation's heroes. Now, while we will be bringing you exclusive coverage of practice, interviews with your favorite players, and access like you will not find anywhere else. Now, coming up on today's show, rookie first-round pick Johann Dotson stops by the set to talk with us about how things are going as his first NFL training camp gets underway. How is he adjusting to catching passes from Carson Winn? How does he complement Terry McLaurin? We have that conversation. And speaking of wide receivers, we now know Curtis Samuel will be suiting up and playing in tomorrow's preseason opener. But how much will we see him out there, and who else will we be seeing in action in front of the home crowd? And it is the last practice for head coach Ron Rivera and company before the Carolina Panthers come to FedEx Field to open up the preseason. It will be our first look at Carson Winn and some of the rookies. I'll ask London Fletcher who else he wants to see in action tomorrow. And London and I will take you to the practice field to watch what is going on and tell you firsthand what is happening here and walk through ahead of a game day. It is the closest you can get to camp without actually being here, and we're bringing it all to you right now on Command Center. Camp coverage presented by the inaugural Commanders Fan Cruise, setting sail March 26, 2023. Reserve your spot at commandersfancruise.com. And welcome on in. It is an absolute gorgeous day out here at Joint Base Andrews. Colonel Todd Randolph joins us now, the base commander. This is really special. I know it's something the team has been doing for about 9 years now as we welcome you on in. Julie Donaldson, of course, London Fletcher here as well. Why is this so important? I mean, we see the military walking around, talking with the players, kind of really getting excited for the season.
Well, I think it's super important that the Washington Commanders as an organization, part of our community, come together and bring the NFL experience to Joint Base Andrews. Our airmen, our soldiers, our sailors, our Marines and Coast Guardmen and our Guardians, their families get inspired by seeing a professional team that works hard, that has teamwork and commitment together, which are personifying the traits that we in the military utilize in our training and readiness to defend America.
Colonel Randolph, this will be the first season of the Washington Commanders. We went through a rebranding, and we went through, different selection of names, and we settled on the Commanders. And it was important for our team to choose the Commanders because of, you mentioned the military. In this community, when you saw that the team chose the name Commanders, what does that mean to you?
Well, it immediately resonated with us in the military community because we see and think of Commanders in high esteem. And we always see and think of the Washington football team as high esteem. So the name Commanders really resonated with us. And from one commander to all the commanders out there, we're excited to get on with this season, first season as the Commanders.
Today is just a part of our military salute, an initiative by the NFL to say thank you to those that serve in the military. So thank you for your service and for hosting us out here. Glad we could finally, because for the past few years, because of COVID, this has been kind of limited and restricted. It's great to have the families out here enjoying this today. Thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us.
Thank you.
And so here is what is happening today here. Let's get into some of the top storylines presented by Bank of America, the official bank of the Washington Commanders. Now, all eyes will be on new starting quarterback Carson Winn as he makes his highly anticipated Commanders debut tomorrow against the Panthers. And we now know that another one of his targets who will also be playing the game, wide receiver Curtis Samuel. No word on just how much either will play, but it will be good to see them both in action. And also on the defensive side of the ball, we will get our first look at the rookie defensive tackle, Federian Mathis. The Commanders' second-round pick out of Alabama has been impressive in his first NFL training camp. We will get to see how he does against a live opponent. And with preseason games, do not count against the record, but the teams always want to win, and that is also true of the coaching staff, including head coach Ron Rivera, who will be facing off against his former team for the third time since coming to Washington.
Well, you want to see some consistency out there. You want to see them, getting in the huddle, breaking the huddle, getting to the line of scrimmage, and then being successful with the plays that are called, operating things, doing things well. Hope we get all kinds of situational football going. We'd love to see a couple of third downs, love to see some red zone stuff, obviously. and then some short yardage and goal line. I mean, you hope for that in your first game. That's why you hopefully target somewhere between 15 and 20 plays, have a nice drive somewhere about 8 or 9 plays, and stuff like that.
I know there's some guys that are probably obviously not going to play some of those tight ends, but what about Chase Rouyet? Will he?
No, Chase won't play. Chase won't play.
Curtis?
Curtis will play.
Obviously, you guys can get a lot out of practice, but game conditions are different. Are there certain positions that you find just you'll learn more out of the game than just out here?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say any specific position. I think you're going to learn about our entire football team out there, and it'll start right up front, with what's going on with the offensive and defensive fronts, more so than anything else. Then the skill players come into play, obviously, running backs, linebackers, and then your DBs and your receivers. I mean, but the biggest question is always going to be quarterback, and everything comes back to that position. So I'm just excited the fact that we will have game situations. We will practice, or we will play against some different folks. So I'm really just looking forward to it as a whole.
Let's get further into these storylines. Everybody's kind of excited they'll be able to see Curtis Samuel, and the big storyline really all throughout entire Camp London is how are they going to get him prepared for game day? And coaches ad nauseum talked about this as part of the plan to ramp him up, go back, ramp him up, and pull back a little bit. But we will see him out there. What do you need to see from Curtis to know that, okay, he's got that football shape, he's ready to go in and contribute?
Well, first of all, I love the plan that Coach has implemented in terms of ramping him up in practice, then bringing him back. You don't want to overload him with him dealing with the groin issue last year, the hamstring issue last year. I expect to see that same explosive type of player that he was 2 years ago when he played for the Carolina Panthers. You want to see that suddenness, that explosiveness, that run after catch ability that you have with Curtis Samuels. When I look at him as being the ultimate chess piece because he's so versatile. If we were playing a game of chess, Julie, he would be the queen. He could do all the different things. You can line him up in the backfield. You can line him up wide at the slot position. There's nothing that Curtis Samuels can't do on the football field. So we just want to get him healthy and get him to the first game of the season.
In Carolina, he was basically that slot receiver for him, that third wide out. But here they want to be able to use him in many different positions. And that's one thing that the staff has really kind of stressed is just that they want to be able to have guys that can play multiple spots. So you can do just that. And he doesn't want to be counted out as somebody who doesn't have that speed and can't go down deep as well. When you are going into this first preseason game, and head coach Ron Rivera said probably about 15, 20 different snaps we'll see from the offense. What are you looking for? Is it just getting in a rhythm? Is it catches? Is it that explosiveness?
For when we're talking about Curtis Samuels, you want to see him
for the offense,
in general. You want to see them execute at a high level. You want to see, how Carson Winn handles the huddle, getting guys in and out of the huddle, how quickly they get in and out of the huddle, how quickly he goes through his progressions, seeing if guys are running their routes at the right depth. You don't want to see any mental errors. And the reason you don't want to see any mental errors, the first 15 plays are scripted. So they've gone over these plays multiple times. They know what the first 15 plays will be. You would like to see them limit the mental errors, go out, put a couple of nice series together, and end up with some scores, preferably touchdowns.
They have not had any joint practices where you would go up against a different defender or a different receiver. It's just been the team going against each other here at practice. What are we going to see in the preseason game that we don't see at practice?
Well, first and foremost, you'll see tackling. That's one thing you'll see. Just guys full tackling to the ground. Early in the season, in the preseason in particular, you're not sure how guys will tackle because you don't do it in practice. The way the training camp is set up now, there's not a lot of live contact. So I want to see the tackling. You also want to see the interior offensive line and defensive line. Are they playing with the proper pad level? That's extremely important. That's what the coaches will be looking for.
And as a vet, you know your spot's secure. What are you doing?
It depends. The first preseason game for me, when the coach would tell me, hey, London, you're going to play a series, I didn't like that because the series could be 3 plays, series could be 10 plays. I would rather you tell me, hey, London, you're going to play a quarter. That will allow me to go because I'm going to warm up the same, but it's hard for me to get up for three plays. But if I know I'm going to play a quarter, I'm going to go all out. I'm going to be lathered up. I'm going to be ready to play. You want to get your conditioning going. You want to work on your skills and your fundamentals, because that is important as you get ready for the regular season.
Every vet that we have talked to said they do want to get in there, kind of get those reps under their belt. Again, go up to somebody else, maybe hit somebody else. Say,
oh yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to be taking your guys out in practice. This is your opportunity to maybe go out there and amp up the intensity as well. Well, we're just amping up here on the show. Still to come for everything you need to know about the team and what is happening at training camp and beyond. Do not miss Command Center. You can join myself, former tight end and film room expert Logan Paulson, and of course our wideout 8 to the 9 Santana Moss, every day for your Commanders fix, highlights, analysis, and inside access you're not going to get anywhere else. You can see every episode on our YouTube channel and on commanders.com. You can also check us out on NBC Sports Washington weekdays 5:30 and 10 p.m. And this Saturday, do not miss the season debut of the Command Center Game Day Live, the official pregame show of the Washington Commanders. We're live on the air starting at 11 a.m. and taking you up to the start of the preseason opener against the Carolina Panthers. You can watch this on our YouTube channel, Facebook, and on Twitter. And after the game, do not miss Command Center Postgame Live for reaction, analysis, and interviews with head coach Ron Rivera and quarterback Carson Winn. You can find that on YouTube. Take command of your game days. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, rookie wide receiver Johann Dotson stops by our set out in Ashburn and talks about his first training camp here in Washington, what it's like working with Carson Winn, and how he feels about picking up this offense. And London and I, we're going to go to the field and bring you your field pass access you're not finding anywhere else. This is Command Center camp coverage. We'll only be away for 60 seconds, but we're going to show you this walkthrough the entire time.
I told you long ago on the road, I got what they waiting for.
Introducing Nitro Pepsi. Smooth, creamy, delicious.
Another rock and roll weekend.
Burgers, better with Pepsi.
Welcome back to Command Center Camp coverage presented by the inaugural Commanders Fan Cruise, setting sail March 26, 2023. Reserve your spot at commandersfancruise.com. Time now for your field pass presented by FedEx, where now meets next. So we're out here at Joint Base Andrews for a walkthrough, and ahead of this practice, London, head coach Ron Rivera addressed those who were here, the military families, and said this is typically what they would do on a Saturday ahead of a game. So what are we trying to accomplish here at the walkthrough?
This right now is a period where you go through your plays that you'll run in that game, and the offensive side or the offensive players who aren't in the game, they're giving us a look defensively, and these are the defensive looks you'll get that you can expect from the Carolina Panthers. You're going through your calls offensively, making sure your protections are correct, make sure you're blocking the right guys in the run game, make sure you're running your routes at the proper depth. The quarterback is going through his reads and progressions. It's not a full speed as you can see, but it's kind of like a jog through, walk through type of tempo, working through your plays. Another opportunity to prepare you for the game that you're going to play
and
tomorrow.
We're seeing Sam Howell out there right now as he's going through this, and head coach Ron Rivera was saying that we will see a good bit of him, of course, in the preseason game. It's going to be Carson Winn for 15 to 20 snaps, and then we'll see Taylor Heineke take over, and then Sam, as we're watching him right in here, go through everything. Is this where you were talking about you don't want the mental mistakes? Is this more just a mental kind of rep? It's
absolutely a mental type of rep. It's another opportunity for you to kind of rehearse the plays that you'll run. They've gotten these plays in the meeting room. They've repped them in practice at full speed. Now there's another opportunity to rep the play at a walkthrough type pace go through these plays mentally, make sure you're making the correct calls against the defense that is being presented to you by our look squad.
And we're seeing Luke Del Rio even kind of like help line guys up and make sure they see what they're wanting to do. When they are trying to give you a look of the defense of what we're anticipating maybe Carolina trying to do, how much can you really kind of anticipate and prepare for what Carolina wants?
You'll watch film of Carolina from last year, what their defense like to run, you know, their coverages that they run, whether it's cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, a couple of their blitzes. And from there, based on what the quarterback sees from a coverage standpoint or the linemen see from a defensive front, that'll let them know, hey, we're going to block this way. We're going to run these routes against this type of coverage. So it's an idea. This just gives you a general idea of what the Panthers are going to do. Now, in a typical game, you would spend a lot more time preparing and scouting the team that you're going to play. Preseason games, especially the first preseason game, you may only spend a day and a half getting ready for that game.
And a lot of that too is we're talking about a lot of the different additions that they made to the offense. It's going to be what offensive coordinator Scott Turner decides to call as well. But you don't want to reveal too much ahead of that game against the Jaguars. So we're not going to see the full installation of the offense as well. But we just have the offense over here on the other side of the field as well. So you got John Matskos kind of working with the offensive line. On the other side of the field as well, you have the defense kind of going through. What are they hoping to accomplish here in a walkthrough?
Well, so they're doing the same thing that the offense is doing down there on the defense. They're running through scout plays that the Carolina Panthers offense will run. Our defense, whether our first team, second team, or third team defense, are going against formations and plays that we would anticipate getting from the Carolina Panthers in tomorrow's game. Again, because this is a preseason game, you don't game plan for a preseason opponent with the same manner, same intensity, same type of 3 days being spent preparing for a game like you would, you know, like this preseason game coming up.
How hard will the guys go on defense in this game, or you know, the preseason game?
You expect them to go all out. You want them to go fly around to the football. You want to see 11 hats to the ball. It doesn't count from a record standpoint, but it matters. So how you can control your effort, you control your energy, you control your physicality. Those are the things that you want to see from a defensive standpoint. We know there'll be mistakes. You want to limit those mistakes. No mental errors. Physically, obviously, we'll coach that up, but effort and intensity, we expect that to be at its highest level.
All right, they're just breaking down the huddle here on offense as they go into the next phase of this. We see the defense huddling up as well. So why don't we take you to the next level of our show? And of course, one of the great things about being out here is, well, the military get to shake hands and meet with the players up close and personal. We're going to move on now to wide receiver Johann Dotson. The Commanders used their first round pick, 16th overall, to select the Penn State standout. And everything Dotson has done since arriving in Washington is show that he is absolutely the right pick for the Commanders. Meanwhile, he stopped by our set before we left Ashburn yesterday to talk with Logan Paulson, Santana Moss, and myself. It is our Pepsi player profile. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Washington Commanders. It's about time the rookie joined us here on set. You feel like a rookie out there because you're not looking like one.
Yeah, I feel like a rookie. Feel pretty new here, but just taking it day by day. Guys are teaching me the ropes, so it's been fun.
When did it settle in, or has it yet? You're like, okay, this is it. I'm in the NFL.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like it still hasn't set in. You know, going to OTA, going from OTAs to training camp was a smooth transition. But I feel like it'll hit me this Saturday when we get to strap up the game uniforms, play against someone else. I feel like it'll definitely hit me then.
Do you have any goals for the preseason, like kind of for the first outing?
Just be comfortable right now. My main thing is being comfortable, being uncomfortable, you know. That's the main thing for me right now, getting this playbook down, making sure that I can play fast out there and be in the right place at the right time.
So what's the uncomfortable part right now then?
Yeah, I would say just moving around. I'm pretty familiar with just one position that I know right now, and so coach is trying to challenge me to move around everywhere, just to learn different positions, and I feel like that's great for me, just because I can show my versatility and I can do things when guys are down, guys need me to step up. So just showing my versatility, playing everywhere I can on the field.
How key is that, though? I remember being a young guy, and I remember taking full advantage of what I had to know first. Do you feel like you have a grips on that? so you can move on to the next and start learning the other positions?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I came in with the mindset that I'm going to get whatever they put me at, I'm going to get that down. And I feel like I've done that with great success. I feel like I've got down my position. Now they're able to move me, and I'm getting that pretty well. The positions kind of go hand in hand, but there's little differences that you need to know. But I feel like I'm getting it pretty well.
Having veterans like Terry there, do you sit back sometime when you're not in with him and just watch and see what he's doing in those certain situations or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes when I'm not in, like you said, and he's in, I'm sitting there watching his reps, especially when we're in the film room. I'm watching how fast he plays. You know, like every single rep, I swear, is 0 to 100. Every play, he's putting his all out there on the field. So it's kind of something you watch and you want to mimic, you know, because he practices hard and it translates to the games. You practice hard you practice hard in practice. You're gonna play hard in the games, and things are gonna happen for you.
And have you been able to give Terry anything? Because one of the things we like about your game quite a bit, Tana, I've been talking about a lot, is like your level of route running nuance, how you stack routes, how you use stems. Like, where does that come from, and have you given that advice to anybody else in the room?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of just like God-given natural ability.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I feel like I've always been pretty good at just being a savvy route runner. So just using stems, like you said, using things to manipulate the defenders, something I've always been kind of good at. And the guys, they watch me on film, you know, we watch each other, we learn things from each other. So learn things from them, they learn things from me is kind of how our room works. Shifting gears from OTAs, mini camps, and now you're in training camp, how different is the speed? Do you think it's a difference, or are you looking forward to hearing what, because I'm pretty sure the guys been telling you it's a different level of speed on this level. Are you waiting to see that in the game, or have you seen that in practice already? I feel like I'm going to see it in the game. Practice hasn't been too much of a difference, speed difference. So it hasn't been much of a transition or difference. So I'm kind of waiting for the game to see that big difference in the speed and just kind of get used to it. Yeah.
So another thing that I wanted to ask you is, you know, obviously like there's matchups coming up in preseason, you know, like with different quarterbacks. Yeah. Are you looking forward to those matchups? Because I feel like, you know, one of the things about training camps, you get really familiar with people that, you know, like Kendall Fuller, William Jackson III. Are you looking to kind of test your mettle against somebody else? Yeah, for sure. Just one thing that I like doing is every week to week, just picking out little things about guys that I know I can use against them, you know? I love that, man. Yeah. So, that's big. Yeah, film study is big for me, especially coming from Penn State. You know, I would watch film with the quarterbacks, and they're manipulating the whole defense, so I get to really hone in and focus in on the guys that I'm going against and really pick the little things apart that they do, what foot they step with first, what do they like to shoot hands, different little things like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to just the new challenges every single week of going against the top guys in the league and be able to test my skills. And so one thing that Ted and I, again, have talked about this quite a bit is, you know, Benjamin St-Juste seems to be giving you kind of a tough time in the slot there. Is there a specific reason for that? And, like, what is your plan for him moving forward? Yeah, he's definitely a good corner, you know, and it's very hard just because in the slot you feel like you're surrounded by a lot, and he's a very long corner. Yeah, he's big to be in the slot. So just that's kind of one thing I wouldn't say I struggle with, but something I need to work on. You're learning. You're learning. You know, using my hands, learning how to manipulate him, using his feet, and just little things like that that will help me in the future. Speaking of hands, I was a guy. You see my frame? I haven't got any bigger. I hated putting my hands on guys. I feel like it slowed me down. Right. I used my God-given, you know, talent. That was just to get by guys. I would give them a little nudge here and there. You know, I learned something from Joey Galloway later in my career, where he told me all he does is put his elbow out, and that's kind of like separating him enough so he can still be able to run at, you know, at max speed. Do you use your hands more, or are you one of those guys that like to not really put your hands on so you can get up and down the field? Yeah, I'm one of those guys who don't really like to use their hands. I like to just play with my speed, you know, use my speed because I feel like that's an advantage to me. But in some situations, you just have to use your hands, you know? You got to use your hands. Sometimes at the line of scrimmage, guys want to get physical. Sometimes down the field, it creates a little bit more separation that you just need. And I really learned that in college. And in college, I would never use my hands. Sometimes I would get jammed up. My coach was like, you want to keep getting jammed up or you want to use your hands? So it became a little natural to me. I'm kind of using my hands way more often. And I'm just trying to build that every single day. Well, you might be at ease now because
these days, these guys don't want to bump and run that much.
Well, they can't. The rules are a little different.
The rules are totally different. So you got a chance to really, fly off the ball.
You sound like an old man right now. You know.
Your speed
Back
is
in my day.
Yeah, right. Uphill both ways. Your speed's one of the reason this team went and brought you here, and also one of the reasons why they brought in Carson Winn, because he has the arm to take advantage of that. That's been something that Coach Rivera's really wanted to stress and hasn't really been able to since he's been here. What's it like working with Carson so far?
Yeah, it's been great. He's a tremendous leader. I always say this. He's a very personable guy. So like having a quarterback that you can talk to, you feel like you can talk to all the time about anything, is truly great. He helps me with anything I need, literally. Sometimes maybe I'm in the wrong split or something. He's helping me out. He's critiquing me, and he goes about it in a good way. He's just a great leader. And then arm talent wise, is some of the best I've ever seen.
Right.
Like he can put the ball in places that a lot of people can't, and he can really stretch the field for us. And that's where I come into play. I can really use my speed to stretch the field against the defense, and he can put it there.
You mentioned those conversations you're having with him. What is that like? What are some nuggets that have come out of there that you say, wow, this is going to help me move forward, or I'm going to help him kind of know on this route, this is what I'm seeing? Can you talk about that dialogue a little bit?
Yeah. One conversation we just had out there on the field, we went through a play, and it was a route concept where I had to kind of come back to the quarterback and find a little soft spot in the defense. And he's just talking to me about what he's seeing and what I'm seeing, and how he wants me to come out of my break. If he wants me to come straight back down my stem, or he wants me to just get at the top and come out a little bit. It's just little things like that we're constantly talking about, just making sure that we're on the same page.
How key is that? Because folks fail to realize that, especially being a young guy, a lot of stuff is like kind of new to you.
Yeah.
Even though you seem like a savvy vet when you watch you out there, playing. But how key is it for you to get those little nuances from, whether it's from Carson or from Terry, or someone that just knows the position and that can give you that little feedback when you do something right or wrong?
Yeah, it helps me tremendously, one, and then it helps the team, Talking to those guys and getting those little keys to success is big for me. It's advancing my game, and then it's only going to help the team at the end of the day. So I'm always trying to be a sponge, always trying to just listen to those guys, because they've been here before, they've been in my shoes. So any little advice that they give me, I'm always trying to listen to it and take it in a play.
That's how you get better, right?
Yeah.
Even just hearing,
Absolutely,
being a sponge, taking it, even these guys, always still wanting to be coached up and be better at their craft.
Gotta be coached.
Looking forward to seeing you out there. He's already saying he wants to go home, a homeowner. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm 22 years old. Congratulations.
I'm letting them know that right now. I'm coming through.
Kind of feels good, though, doesn't it? It's
does.
like, yeah, this is mine. This is mine. You worked hard for it, and we know you will continue to do so as well. Can't wait to see you on Saturday. Do you know how much you want to be out there for?
I don't. Hopefully I can get a couple passes, get my feet wet a little bit.
Let the wind blow you, right?
Get some hot dogs, right? That's what Tanner always says. Get
make
some hot
sure
dogs.
you find the person with the hot dogs on the side.
Tanner was saying he'd get a couple of passes, then sit back, grab a hot dog, and watch everybody else play in the preseason. So, whatever that food choice may be for you, we don't need you out there the whole time. But we're all really excited. The fan base is too, to see what you add to this offense this year. So thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Let's take a look at some of Dotson's measurables. Of course, 16th overall in 2022 as the team moved back to select him out of Penn State. But at Penn State, man, he put up some legit numbers. Just about 3,000 yards, found the end zone 25 times on 183 receptions. Safe to say he was their main producer on offense at Penn State. And, of course, Washington hoping that he does the same here. As we welcome you back into Joint Base Andrews, let's talk a little bit, London, about Johann Dotson. One of the things that I really liked, and again, that we keep talking about, is this coaching staff really wants flex positions. He said at Penn State he was just that guy that took the top off the defense. And he's having to learn different positions. How valuable is that to what the defense may want to try and scheme against when he's on the field?
That's extremely valuable. When you can move him around, put him at different places, whether he's lined up outside in the slot or put him in motion, it creates the matchups that you want. You get to dictate the terms to the defense. You can't just say, hey, we know Johann's always going to be lined up outside. We can roll coverages to him. But by moving him around and putting him in different places, it will allow him to make more plays, and it will also open up the offense for other guys.
Exactly what we were even saying about Curtis Samuel as well, is he's not just that slot guy. He's got the speed, multiple positions as well. So when they are on the field, you don't don't know what route they may be running. If we talk about maybe the back end of the wide receiving core, you have Dax Milne, Erickson, you have even quite a few guys that are trying to fight for that spot out there. How do you see that shaping up?
Well, it's going to be interesting. You mentioned Dax Milne, Alex Erickson. Those guys, whoever wins the return job, obviously puts them in a better position to make the team. A guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing is Markin Michel. He's opened a lot of eyes. He's a first-year player, not a rookie, but tremendous speed. I'm not sure if he can return kicks, but he has opened a lot of eyes, made a ton of plays so far in training camp. I want to see if he can continue to do that in this preseason game against Carolina.
And when you get to that spot in the wide receiving unit, they probably need to do more than just contribute on offense. They've got to be able to have that extra contribution to be able to make the 53-man roster. We'll see a good look at those guys probably out there when it does come to preseason game number 1. Well, the Washington Commanders, they do open up the season at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars Sunday, September 11th at 1 p.m. Tickets start at $46 while supplies last. Get your official Ticketmaster verified tickets at commanders.com/tickets. Command the stands. Now, we hope to see you out there on the 11th for the season opener. We also hope to see you at our FedEx Field tomorrow for the preseason opener. When we come back, we are getting you set for game day and getting some takes on the game from London. Right after this 1-minute break, but we're keeping the camera up for you.
This one's for every NFL fan whose fan cave is more like a fan corner of a guest room closet. You've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar.
You fired up the grill for one hot dog? Seriously?
Hot dogs, better with Pepsi.
And welcome back to Command Center Camp Coverage presented by the inaugural Commanders Fan Cruise setting sail March 26, 2023. Reserve your spot at commandersfancruise.com. Well, we may be away from Ashburn, but team reporter Zach Selby is holding it down. Let's go camping.
Welcome back to Camping Out with Zach Selby, where it is much cooler than it has been all this week, and the offense and defense is preparing for their first preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. Today we talked to Matt Parrish from the Washington Times. So you mentioned Diami. He mentioned how he felt like this year is going to be really big for him, and he's also looked really good, like you said. But what do you think the biggest thing he's improved in so far?
I think the point of attack. He had the speed last year, and he was getting there, but it just seemed like every ball toward him was kind of just slightly out of his grasp. But you saw it today. He really leapt up and grabbed it, and it just seems like he understands where the ball is going better, and it seems like he's been able to make catches a little bit more consistently.
Pretty much over under 1.5 series the starters play on Saturday.
I'll go over. I think, what did Fitzpatrick play, 2 last year?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll hit the 2, but not. If you made it 2.5, I would have said under, but I'll go exactly with 2.
And you can listen to Zach's full interviews with the beat reporters on our podcast, Going Camping with Selby. Find it where you get your other Command Center podcasts. Well, tomorrow marks the start of the preseason slate for the Commanders as they welcome the Carolina Panthers to town. Kickoff is scheduled for 1 p.m. at FedEx Field. Forecasts are calling for a hot one with sunny skies and 82-degree weather at kickoff. You can stream the game on Commanders app and website. You can also catch the game on NBC4 and NBC Sports Washington. If radio is your thing, we'll tune in to Bram Weinstein, London Fletcher, and myself on Big 100. Do not forget our pregame show right here on our YouTube channel starting at 11 a.m. Well, it is time now for today's Fresh Takes presented by Safeway, the official supermarket of the Washington Commanders. And London, let me ask you this, because we've talked a lot about the receivers and the multiple positions, and it's an area this team really focused in on during the offseason. So now it's really up to offensive coordinator Scott Turner to decide how to best use everybody.
Yeah, this is a great problem to have if you're Scott Turner. We have multiple playmakers. If you think about last year's team at the receiving position, you had Terry McLaurin, you had J.D. McKissick catching passes out of the backfield, and then offensively for running the ball, obviously you stop Antonio Gibson. We're kind of predictable. Teams could take away our playmakers. When you add Johann Dotson, when you get a healthy Curtis Samuels, Logan Thomas, when he comes back healthy, and some of the other guys, De'Ami Brown being in his second year in the system, we'll have a plethora of talent and playmakers that Scott Turner's going to say, man, how do I get these guys to football because I have so many weapons?
And we won't see everything in the preseason game, but we know we will see the starters for a good little bit. And as you were mentioning, it's good to have some sort of rhythm out there and know that it's not just a few snaps, but it may very well take out 15 to 20 snaps for that offense. On the other side of the ball, defensively, what is the biggest thing that defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio wants to see from his unit out there, and also those that have the opportunity to not tackle like they do in practice, but potentially in the game, so you might get some of those surprises?
Yes, you mentioned tackling. That's one of the things you'll want to see. Biggest thing is how well these guys are tackling. In training camp, you're not taking guys to the ground. You want to see guys tackling open space. The great defenses, they all are excellent tackling teams. Third down defense is another thing that I want to see. We were 31st in the league last year in terms of allowing teams to convert their third downs. I want to see us get off the field on third downs. It would be great if we can get a 3-and-out to start the series off defensively. But those are the things that you want to see: tackling and also the third down defense.
That was their Achilles heel last season. Every time I'd ask Coach Ron Rivera what went wrong in a game, if something went wrong, he was like, that third down defense. They did kind of short up a little bit as the season went along, and they're anticipating starting off on a stronger footing this year. It does begin, though, tomorrow at FedEx Field for preseason game number 1 against the Carolina Panthers. Again, make sure you tune in and watch our pregame show. I'm excited to be there, have you joining us this season as well. We're on Big 100, but we're also going to be in our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channel. And then next week, we're going to be back in Ashford Monday through Thursday. You have the opportunity to come out and watch the practice in its entirety. It's a lot of fun when the fans are out there, and it's the wrapping up of training camp as well.
We love having fans out there. We've talked about it several times. Just the added energy that it brings to the practice when you have the fans out there. You guys make a difference. We want to connect with our fans because it's so important for you guys to come out there, be with us, connect with us, get an autograph, say hello to Julie, myself, Santana, Logan Paulson. Come by and say hello to us as well.
There you go. That's going to do it, though, for this Command Center camp coverage live from Joint Base Andrews practice. Have a great weekend. We'll see you at FedEx Field tomorrow.